we talk a lot about the golden generation here on Stars and Strikes. I mean, Giovanni, Reina, Christian Pulisic, Serginho Dest. There's one guy who's been on the up and ups that is just killing it lately, and that's Tim Weah, man. We just got to talk about him. So here on Stars and Strikes, we're about to break it down.
It's a goal for the United States. Le va a pegar al arco, busca el pelotazo, Reina.
Jim Pulisic, you're listening to Stars and Stripes.
It's really awesome to see his growth, but it's also intriguing knowing all the other players that are growing at the same time and where his position is going to be. But right now, dude, he is unstoppable. Tim Weah, man.
I mean, yeah, like you said, a guy that I have been dying to talk about because we haven't done an episode since these last windows. And he is a player that is just constantly making things happen in a positive way when he's on the field for the U.S. men's national team. I mean, when you just go through my notes from these games against Morocco, be like, oh, great cross from Timothy Weah, once again causing pressure, breaking that defensive line, whipping a cross in, just constant stuff like that. And then all of a sudden he scores an absolute missile thunderbolt against Morocco. He's providing assists, scoring goals. He, for the U.S. men's national team, I think has solidified himself as almost like the second most important attacking player behind Christian Pulisic. And at times he's even been more consistent in his ability throughout the course of a match to constantly be dangerous when attacking the opposition.
Yeah, I think what he brings is sort of like a Brendan Aaronson kind of dynamic where he's direct. Christian Pulisic
So
is
direct.
someone who's pulling the strings and trying to make stuff happen, quick 1-2s, movement, making runs. But Weah is just driven towards that goal.
He goes right at the defenders. He's going right to the
direction.
Goal. Boom.
And I think more often than not, it's been successful for him. I mean, he like every game with the national team that he's been playing as of late, he's been just a threat to just a nightmare for the opposition defense because of just how direct and how hungry he is to get at that opposing goal. And it's like you said, it's brought him to that point where he's almost a nailed on guy for us. But it brings up an interesting conversation with the other attacking players we got. But man,
it's a great problem to have.
Exactly.
I mean, Brendan Aaronson, the guy that we were just talking about earlier in this podcast, I think he's going to do spectacular in the Premier League with Leeds, but he probably right now doesn't get into my starting 11 for the US because of Timothy Weah and how much of an impact that he has had in recent games over the last probably 6 or so months. You could make the argument he's been the best player for the US, period. He's been that good.
And it's not a bad thing too, like you said, to have these two sort of players fighting for that kind of thing. They bring different things to the table, and where one game we might want Timothy Weah starting, another game we might want this dude coming off the bench and just wreaking havoc off the bench.
He offers something different. He is so fast and so direct that any defender in the world is going to have issues with him. And for him, it's the same problem that it's been for a lot of the players that we have in the attacking roles. It's just injuries. When he's on the field, he's spectacular. So for him, I think it's just nailing down a starting role at Lille and playing week in and week out, because when this guy is on the field, he's absolute dynamite.
I think at Lille too. He's also been great since coming back from injury for Lille. I mean, he's just bringing the same sort of energy to the national team that he is to the club. So that's great to see, because Tim Weah is a player who's just been, like you mentioned, riddled with injuries, one after another, injury here, injury there. But it seems like in the past year and a half, he's played his cards right when it comes to this upcoming World Cup. I mean, coming back from injury, putting his head down, just playing a game here and there, not pushing himself, and now slowly getting back a consistent run of form right before the World Cup, right before this next season starts. And I think he just played every single card right.
And, the thing that has been his biggest downfall, and that's injuries, was almost his way in, gave him his opportunity, because the likes of Gio Reyna, who a lot of us had penciled in on that right wing opposite of Christian Pulisic, was like Gio Reina on that one side. And then we have Aaronson and Weah coming off the bench and filling in here and there. And there have been talks about having Timothy Weah move up to striker. That's been a thought I've even had, but he's been so good and so dominant on that right side. It's almost like you don't want to take him away from that because he's doing so many good things. I mean, there have been games where he is absolutely dominated. Like, he's been the best player on the field in some of these games. I'm thinking of Morocco and Mexico just off the top of my head, where I was watching this and I was like, Tim Weah is unstoppable right now. And you're telling me that Iran can stop that Ben Davies is at Wales is not going to struggle with that against the England back 3, back 5 system with their overlapping wing backs. You're telling me that's not going to cause them issues? I mean, Harry Maguire, you're a Manchester United fan. Harry Maguire with Timothy Weah running at him on the right wing. One-on-one defending. What is going to happen?
Dude, Harry Maguire is going to struggle with
Bradford
Wright Phillips and is at age 39. So that's not saying too much.
No, I know. But you know what I mean? Like, he is
exactly
a problem causer for the opposition. And he's become one of, if not my favorite player to watch over the last, honestly, since the start of this year. I mean, if we want to talk about American Player of the Year, halfway through 2022 awards, Timothy Weah is damn near the top of the list, if not the top guy. I think alongside Walker Zimmerman, I think those two dudes are right there, neck and neck.
They do have an award for that. I mean, young player of the year, and I think obviously in the past it's been Gio Reyna who's been that guy who we're all getting so excited about, all drooling over. But Tim Weah now, it's just that young player. I mean, only 22. I mean, he's got all those injuries and still come back, and he's still only 22, and he just has a long way to go. I mean, it's crazy to think, because we've seen Tim Weah around for how many years. We've always been begging for this guy to burst onto the scene because we've known his potential. I feel like we've heard the name Tim Weah since 2016, and now it's finally starting to pay off after all those injuries. Knock on wood that there's none before this World Cup. But on the path he's on right now, it's a warpath. This man, he's put all that frustration from injury and just got that mental game on lock to the point of just playing his best game now. While he's finally fit, while he's finally, his body is healthy, he's putting it all out there. I love to see it every chance. I mean, it's regardless of where he is, which is why I don't get why we don't try him as striker. Maybe we've seen him play even right back, and he's had the best game of his life. We've seen him just play wherever, and he's always influential.
He, even when it doesn't work out, he's got that short memory, almost like you hear him talk about in the NFL all the time about you throw an interception as a quarterback, you just got to forget about it and go on. He's got that mentality on the wing. It's like when he's going at it, if a defender stops him and kicks the ball out of bounds, or a pass that he tries to feed through to the striker or a cross doesn't work out, he just forgets about it and does it again and again and again and again and again and again. And eventually that ball is going to be in the right place to set up a goal or a great scoring opportunity. And he is so quick to get shots off too. That is another thing that is really impressive about him. And some players, it's like, oh, got to dance around a little bit, try and open it up to get that perfect shot. Tim Weah, he gets a half yard of space, he's smashing it at the goal. And when it goes in, like we saw against Morocco, he's got shooting from range too. He is a type of player that, if he can stay fit, can go to the very, very top of the game. He has all the talent in the world to be one of the better wingers in all of Europe. I think we forget about him and his talent sometimes because of how long he was out for. And for the fact that he wasn't playing every day for Lille. But a lot of that just had to do with the fact that he hadn't played in forever, so he wasn't fully crisp. And now that he's back and firing, I mean, we talked about guys earlier in the full podcast episode that could possibly have a great World Cup and get a massive move. Tim Weah is one of those guys that you could see a lot of people around both Europe and America are going to find out about, because I mean, he is if he's fit and firing, he is a spectacular player.
Yeah, and that's just thinking about that. I mean, much of Europe knows obviously about Weston McKennie, Sergio Dest, Christian Pulisic, whatever, Gio Reina, but not many people are familiar with Tim Weah. I mean, he's been playing in France. He's just been a bit quiet with his club career because of the injuries and whatnot.
And he also isn't a player that puts up a ton of goals.
His goals aren't the big point of his game. I mean, it's just the energy, the directness. I mean, just how he presses against opposition defenses is a sight to behold. I mean, without trying to beat around the bush, but look, people are going to start seeing this guy, and I think he's going to start being one of those big names for us as long as he stays fit. Because I don't see why he shouldn't be in the conversation along with Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Dest, because
that's the type of player he is.
Exactly. If he gets a big move, which I think after the World Cup,
100%.
Very well may.
You're telling me Tim Weah, he starts every game just think about this. He starts every game for the U.S., scores a couple of goals, and just on the world view, just gets thrust onto the biggest stage in all of sports. And he plays his game to the way we know he can play his game. Oh, we're talking, there's probably, rumors of him making 50 million pound moves to the Premier League, to the Bundesliga, like to maybe some of the top teams in Serie A. He is going to be a sought after player if he plays the game that we know he can play at the World Cup. And if he does, that's a good thing, because that means the U.S. have a real shot to make something happen at this World Cup, because that's how good Tim Weah can be.
Yeah, I could without a doubt see Tim Weah be that guy who's getting, after the World Cup, getting his move to Wolves or Crystal Palace. I think, he's
especially when all the attention is going to be on Christian Pulisic.
Yeah,
I mean, think about it. Especially on the biggest stage, a lot of the opposition teams and the fans are all going to be focused on, what's Christian Pulisic going to do? What's Christian Pulisic going to do? And as they should. He is our best player and most important player. We're not saying that whatsoever, but Timothy Weah is pretty damn good.
Yeah, he's almost like our secret weapon. I mean, a lot of people know about him, but he's going to be causing some issues, and a lot of people are going to be turning their heads saying, "Who's this guy? Where'd he come from?"
Which is funny because, with Gio Reina, everybody knows Gio Reina. And I think maybe that's just because it was a Dortmund thing, and everyone should know Gio Reina. He is a spectacular talent. We hope that he starts this new season with his hamstring fit and firing, because he is a spectacular player and another player with that. The sky is the limit for Gio. But Tim Weah's dad won a damn Ballon d'Or, and people just kind of forget about him. It's like he's the type of, he has all the aspects. He came up through PSG, and there was a lot of hype with him when he came through, but he missed basically 2 years because of injury, and everyone just kind of forgot about him. And it's like, really? Like, I mean, hey,
we see so many players like that. I mean, just think of Bayern. How many young players have gone through Bayern and then just been sent down to the German third league or something, But I think the one thing that has separated Tim Weah from players like that, I mean, playing at PSG and still being able to retain his level, is just the mentality, like we just talked about too. It's he's been riddled with so much in his career, his short career for a young guy, but he's always stayed focused on what he wants and what he's driven to do. And I think that if anything is going to take him places.
And also, he's got an infectious personality. He's a great guy to have in the dressing room and on the plane. You can tell all the players in the squad love him. So he is an integral part, both on and off the field, for this USMNT national team. And hopefully we can see it all come to fruition and really make things happen.
Yep. Hopefully in November. It's coming up. Hopefully in November. As we've said multiple times, for this part, I mean, knock on wood, there's no injury, but come November, let's bring it to the field somewhere.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. That's all we got for you on this edition of Stars and Strikes.
This is the place to be for anything and everything USMNT. Check out our other content on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe And also hit us up on social media as we follow the boys on their quest for glory in Qatar. We will see you real soon.